Hello, everybody, and welcome to another interview by myself, Jamie Theodosi. Today, I'm joined by the always fun Chase Hooper, who will be taking on Jordan Leavitt on November the 18th. Chase, how are you, mate?
Good. Yeah, just getting ready to head to the gym here in a little bit, and training camp's going well, feeling good, and ready for November for sure.
Perfect. So, before we touch on this upcoming fight of yours, I just kind of want to rewind back to your last fight against Nick Fior, and what was your lightweight debut. Um, when you look at that fight and you kind of recap that fight, what are some things that you take away from that?
Honestly, I feel that there's always little things where you're like, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done that better, but overall, that was a pretty clean fight on my end. Like I feel pretty content with that. Like you don't get a lot of fights where you're happy with pretty much everything you did. Because at the end of the day, the other guy's trying to beat you up just as much as you're trying to beat him up. So, there's gonna be some spots where you might stumble. But I feel like overall, cardio was great, pressure was great. Felt good in the scrambles. Felt nice to, give people something else to worry about with the striking stuff. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it was pretty good overall. Again, like little minor things that, just maybe keeping the space a little better next time. But overall, like that, it's a pretty good way to get a win. Is I mean, a finish is always better, but I feel like that was a pretty dominant win, and it showed all the stuff that I've been working on the past couple years.
100%, I agree. And obviously, you are still a really young fighter, despite going into what will be your eighth UFC fight. Why did you decide that then was the right time to move up to lightweight?
Honestly, like I've been fighting puberty this whole time. Like, the weight's been going up every single time. I remember my contender fight. I think I was walking at, you know, uh, around like 165. So I was, 20 pounds out from the featherweight limit. And I'd been fighting at 55 on the local scene. Like I hadn't really cut any weight. But then the weight just kept going up. And then I started walking closer to 185. Um, and cutting 40 pounds to make weight is not super sustainable. And my body stopped wanting to lose that weight. And I knew for my last featherweight fight, I was like, I don't want to cut this anymore. Like I can barely do it now. And I feel like the amount that I was putting my body through was too hard to try and you know recoup and like recover from. And just the 24 hours that we have from the weigh-ins, or a little more than that, but still, like it's not enough time for your body to recover for a cage fight where this guy's trying to hurt you. And so there's no reason to go in there compromise. And yeah, I feel like my lightweight debut showed that I'm more than capable size wise. And this is the right division for me right now.
Definitely. And with that being your lightweight debut for the UFC, did you feel kind of more pressure or nerves going into that one than before, or was it kind of just you were seeing that as a new start and a fresh slate kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess more like refreshing everything. Like I was talking to my coach, like kind of while we were going through the camp, like I was just like, hey, like all of my best fights, contender series included, like the ones where I was able to perform at, the level that I needed to, were the ones where I wasn't cutting a ton of weight. So I felt that that was a pretty natural, transition to make. And on top of that, like an even better sign, and I'm still feeling it now, is like I am able to train like super hard in the camps. Even fight week for the last one, I was able to still do everything like short of sparring. I was still going hard all of fight week while I was cutting weight and all that. We're at 45. I literally had there were times where I told my coach, like, just like I couldn't even hit pads. I was like, don't give me combinations, just let me hit jabs and straights. That's all I want to do. I don't have the mental capacity. I don't have the energy to do anything more than that. But, now at 55, I'm able to, hit it hard and still keep training hard the whole fight week. Makes the cut easier, helps the confidence, helps me keep my cardio on point. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely no going back down, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. Do you feel as though with like each different fight you take now at 155, you're going to kind of find more out about yourself during the camp and kind of become even more comfortable within yourself?
Um, I don't know. I honestly feel again, this being my eighth UFC fight, I feel like this is kind of like normal, Like I feel like I'm settling into the adjustment. Like there was a huge adjustment period coming into the UFC. Um, like that's crazy different from just, fighting on the local scene, and you're an hour away from the venue, you're at home the whole time, to now you have like all this media stuff. You have to do you know, all these pictures, all these interviews. You have to, be out for a week at wherever the fight is. It's just such a process, and it's obviously a lot more pressure, especially when you're on TV, and you have people all across the world, telling you how great you are or how terrible you are. Um, but I feel like I've definitely adjusted to that pressure, and I feel very like settled into into fighting in the UFC now. Like this is again, like it's kind of getting normal for me. Um, I feel like the stuff between camps or like between fights that I'm learning is more just, like skill building and confidence building. Like I, I had fights where I'd been, so anxious that I felt like I was, getting walked out to like an execution type of thing, where you just have that level of anxiety. Um, but the last fight, I felt very like confident, very sure of myself. Obviously, there's still nerves, there's still jitters, but for me, it's been really, finding that balance, and of where you're nervous but you're confident to where you can still perform well, and you're still able to, get that adrenaline and use it. But yeah, I mean, definitely always learning, always maximizing the time between fights. But I feel like I'm in a good spot right now for sure.
100%. And you've mentioned it a bit there about sometimes feeling anxious coming out to fights and stuff like that. Have you worked with a sports psychologist at all in throughout your UFC tenure, or is that something that you kind of haven't looked into just yet?
No, I mean, I was reading like some sports psychology books, and just it honestly like I feel like everybody's different, so I think it was. I'm not really into like telling people my feelings, that type of thing. Like it's a lot easier for me to just try and cope myself. And yeah, I feel like just reading some more sports psychology stuff just to see like how to reframe things, I guess. Like not being like oh, I have to fight this guy. Just a little thing of changing it to like, oh yeah, he has to fight me. Or like the last fight, I was trying to think of it more as like, because I did a lot of jiu-jitsu when I was growing up. So being like, okay, I'm gonna go compete today. Not making it like a fight, like this huge deal. Just being a little more grounded. I know GSP always said how he would, before his fights, like just go drive around and see like normal people going about their daily lives that could care less like what you have going on. Where, in the moment it feels like it's the biggest thing in your life right now. But it's just recognizing that it's this tiny moment, and nobody else cares. But I feel like I'm getting to a good spot, just kind of by myself, and figuring out how my brain works, and how to use that best to compete.
Definitely. And talking about competing, let's kind of touch more on your upcoming matchup with Jordan Leavitt. When you kind of announced this fight on your social medias, you mentioned how this is a matchup you've been kind of keeping your eye on for a while. Why is Jordan Leavitt someone that you've kind of had your eye on and wanted to kind of share the cage with?
I mean, it's a stylistic matchup. Like there's so many. there's so many wrestlers, there's so many great strikers in UFC, but there's not as many great, more jujitsu based grapplers. I mean, I think he started more on the wrestling side, but he's definitely got that like 10th planet, kind of weird no gi tinge to his grappling. And, he's fought some high level guys. He's fought, Patty. He's fought Claudio Pueyes, like other like pretty high level grapplers. And, I just want to, test my grappling against a guy that's been in there with some other great grapplers and, just kind of I would like to work my way up the unofficial best jiu-jitsu guy at lightweight rankings. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've seen Jordan around a lot. Like I've talked to him at the PI. We've hung out in the sauna together. He's a good guy. Like he's a professional. So am I. But I think it's a fun fight, and I mean, the spot that we're in the card being the featured bout being 2 fights before the main event is I think it's a testament to how good of a fight that actually is. So yeah, I mean we'll see November 18th.
For sure. And you've just mentioned it there. This will be the first time that you'll be competing on the main card since joining the UFC. Do you feel any slightly more pressure with that, or are you kind of seeing this as just like another way to showcase your skills even higher up the card in front of more eyes?
Yeah, no, I mean I don't really care. I think my the biggest benefit for me is I think I'll be able to maybe squeeze in lunch before we head to the venue. These other Apex cards have been, when I'm earlier, they're having us leave for the Apex at like 10:45. So, you finish up breakfast and then it's like, all right, now go fight. So I'll get another meal in and then we'll get some dinner after. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, doesn't doesn't change anything for me. I still get paid the same amount. Still gonna fight the same amount of time, the same guy. Doesn't really doesn't change anything. The only way it would add pressure is if I just started making things up. Like it doesn't. This is a fun fight, and I don't think it matters where it is on the card. I was hoping I could get on the MSG card the week before, but I can't take. I'm pretty happy being back at the Apex. It's just so easy. There's none of that New York tax, and being high up on the card for once is pretty cool. Definitely would help as far as maybe getting a bonus goes. When you're higher up on the card. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of people are seeing it as the people's main event. It's a fight that a lot of fans have kind of highlighted it as one of the most exciting fights on the card. Do you see that kind of playing out to be that, or are you seeing it's a bit differently?
Yeah, no, I think regardless, both me and him are going to be pretty tired by the end of this fight. It's gonna be a grind for sure. I'm kind of like the last fight. I'm really tuning up all the scrambles. I know Jordan likes to get into a lot of weird positions. So do I. He's awkward on the feet. So am I. Like that's why this fight's so fun. Is we both have similar styles, but like different, but still very weird. Both of us, in more ways than one. But yeah, this is a great fight. I was really happy when they offered it. And yeah, I imagine he thinks the same.
Yeah. And you mentioned it there, both being quite not. I wouldn't say weird, mate. You're doing yourself a bit out of it there. Are you kind of prepared for that side of Jordan where he's a bit eccentric? He's possibly going to twerk at the weigh-ins, that sort of thing. Are you prepared for that side of the matchup and kind of not seeing him as much of an enemy and just seeing it as like you said before, just as competition?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the fun part is like again, like I wouldn't say I know him, but like, I've talked to him, I've hung out with him a little bit in the sauna at the Performance Institute and stuff. Like I'm familiar with him. And it's not like I don't know. I'm not one of those guys that wants everybody to think I'm the most tough guy out there. So I'm fine with playing into the humor a little bit. Um, because at the end of the day, like we do fight in our underwear on TV for other people to watch. It's not the end of the world. It's you know, I I think we'll have some fun with it for sure.
Definitely. You've spent a bit of time training with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on the lead up to this fight. What was that experience like for yourself?
Yeah, it's been great. I'm definitely always thankful to be able to cross train with those guys. They obviously have like a different style than Jordan does on the striking, but they're so good that they can really tailor their striking to like whatever you need. They're so high level that they can really find any of those looks. And they have great wrestling out there too. Um, so yeah, just going out there, getting different sparring, getting different style of training. Yeah, I mean, it's beneficial, I think, to test yourself against guys that are high level, just in different ways than I'm used to. I'm used to grappling a lot of guys, like really high level jujitsu where I train at. But it's nice to go out there, get the high level karate, the high level, Greco Roman wrestling that some of their guys have. And yeah, it's been great. And I'm definitely always thankful for those guys letting me come out.
Yeah. Something else I kind of want to touch on as well is something you do really well that not a lot of other fighters do is you kind of market yourself really well on social media and that sort of thing, and the things that you do outside of fighting, like commentary with Cage Fury, is it? It's Cage Fury,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How important do you feel it is for fighters to kind of build a future outside of fighting and have these different avenues to go down?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously if you're a Conor McGregor, you don't have to do any of that. Like his fighting markets himself more than 99% of other fighters. But my thing is always like the absolute worst thing is for nobody to know who you are and nobody to care, especially in a sport like this, in the UFC where um people tune in for the fighters that they like. They look for more than just their style. They like their personality. Like they like all the other stuff that they do. Um, but it's important to, I think, have more than one reason for UFC to keep you around. I try to be more value to the company than just my fighting performances. I want to because fighting is such a fleeting moment in time. Like you don't have the ability to fight. Most people won't be able to fight long enough to make a generational wealth off of it. They're not gonna be able to be set for the rest of their life. So I think it's important to um yeah have something, a little side hustle, because again, like, just if I was just fighting, I'd only be getting paid every 6 months, which is not the best way to budget out life, especially when taxes come, when something breaks, you get some expensive bills, and just trying to be as smart as I can in that side.
Yeah, well, I mean, I for one love all the sort of interviews you do and the commentary, like I said, that you do. It's fantastic. And then if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to finish the interview with a few fun questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. So it's a little segment I like to call split decisions. It's just going to be kind of quick fire questions, not too quick fire. Just answer them as you hear them. You'll understand it as it goes on.
All right,
So the first one is, if you could change or add one rule in MMA, what would it be?
12-6. I think that's the dumbest rule ever. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense, and this isn't even like effective 99% of the time.
Mm. That's a lot of fighters give that answer, as well as some of them have given me this sock. They'd like to implement the soccer kick again, but what are your thoughts on that? It's a bit brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to soccer kick somebody in the face, but I don't think I'd like to get soccer kicked.
Yeah.
I think if anything, they should do the pride, like the yellow cards,
Mm.
like for these boring fights, and then just get them going again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that. The next one is, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, but it gave the perfect nutrients, what would you eat?
Ooh, probably because I'm craving it right now. Probably some buttered chicken.
Oh, like a curry, a butter chicken curry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
always good.
We do some great ones here in the UK. You need to get to the UK to try one.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's incredible. I like that answer. That's one that I've not had before. So you're at training and someone gives you the aux cord or the Bluetooth. What is one song you play? You can only play one song. What is it?
Ooh, I'm horrible with music. Anything like Kanye in the earlier to mid 2000s. I
Okay.
think that was his peak.
Yeah. Just picking something from that sort of era then.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. If you could make the perfect fighter using fighters from past and present, who would you use for the attributes of grappling, striking, heart, and IQ?
Ooh. I mean, probably striking of Anderson Silva. See, grappling, Khabib's got to be the guy. Um, Art, let's see, probably Max Holloway.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty complete fighter right there.
What about IQ? Who are you using for IQ?
Probably, probably either like Wonder Boy or like John Jones, like those guys that just, I feel like they meter themselves really well. They fight pretty smart
Mm,
almost all the time. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a perfect fighter right there. Um, if you could travel to any place in the world right now, where would you travel?
ooh, I've been wanting to go to Iceland for a little bit. I hear it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Definitely on the list.
I see on your Instagram you've just, well, not just, but you've recently been to Italy. How was that?
It was pretty good. We had a great time in Rome and Florence. Yeah, I mean it's interesting to go to like another culture. And I love seeing all the ancient Rome stuff.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was a good time.
Could you imagine possibly fighting in like a Colosseum there? How incredible would that be?
That'd be cool for sure. But it's all like half the floor is missing or three
Yeah,
quarters of
true.
I don't know. They'd have to fix it up a little first.
Yeah, true. If you could go for a drink with anyone in the world right now, dead or alive, who would you pick?
This is my one regret is I was on a grappling show with Cerrone, with
Ah,
Cowboy, and he offered me what is it, Budweiser, I think is his
yeah,
sponsor. And I just out of habit, I was like, no, I'm okay. But I was like, fuck, I could have had my first beer with Cerrone after. I didn't even want a beer. I was just like, damn, that would have been a
a good
good life.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is, how does your fight go down with Jordan Leavitt on November the 18th?
I mean, I don't imagine he's subbing me unless, I fall asleep at the wheel or he catches me with something on the feet. Um, I think I think my pace is going to be a lot to handle. He's going to really have to try and slow me down. Um, but again, like I always go into fights expecting kind of like the last one, like a 15-minute scramble. That's what I'm ready for. And if the fight ends any earlier, then that's a bonus. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm hard to keep up with this in the scrambles. Got a weird style that's hard to mimic, and yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the night, the fans are definitely going to win on this one.
100%. And I, as well as a lot of others out there, are buzzing for this fight. Anything else you want to add? Thank any sponsors, anything? The floor is yours.
No, I mean, I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me, and yeah, great talking to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Chase.
Yeah, thank you.